And welcome to Orange First, brought to you by OtterBox, the maker of this beautiful little case right here. I'm Lionel. Bienvenue. This is Woody Page. We are here on Victory Monday, an Orange Monday for Furniture Row Racing. Way to go, Furniture Row, winning the NASCAR championship. So it's Victory Monday for them, Orange Monday, but for the Broncos, Woody, it is Pink Monday, Pink Slip Monday for Mike McCoy. Big news today. The Broncos have fired their offensive coordinator.
And he's not taking a victory lap today at all.
No, you're right. You're right.
And I just finished writing a column that's posted just to promote it.
I have it right here.
Basically, yeah, he's the sacrificial scapegoat. That's somewhat redundant, but I wanted to make my point that there are a lot of people out there that should be getting pink slips.
First domino to fall,
and the guy who hired him, and that was his first move, this is his first firing. So Vance Johnson was another guy, right. But Vance Joseph really, that had to be a difficult decision for him because this was a guy he reached out to right after he got the job and wanted him to come to Denver. And Vance just said in his press conference, and Troy Rink's going to join us live, he said it was difficult for him, but that a change had to be made, and I found it odd. He said he has to take the fall. Well, normally the head coach is the one who has to take the fall when the team does as poorly as it's doing.
Well, you're right. Vance said he made this decision because the pass game had not improved from Trevor Siemian to Brock Osweiler.
Could that have been because of the quarterbacks aren't good?
Maybe there's something there, a consistent factor right there. But he also said for the quarterback moving forward, all signs point to Paxton Lynch. I said that it would be insanity if they decided to go with Brock or Trevor in the last 6 games of the season or against the Raiders here. Vance Joseph himself said 3 weeks ago, insanity, they can't keep doing the same things over and over. That would be insane. And you can't keep doing Trevor and Brock. That would be insane. You got to put Paxton Lynch in, give him 6 games, have Musgrave open up the offense, and see where you stand with Paxton Lynch moving forward.
Well, I was in bed this morning, and I heard about the decision. And speaking of me being in bed, embedded with the Broncos.
That's not a good visual, but anyway, go ahead.
Embedded with the Broncos is Troy Rink. Let's get his immediate response to what Vance Joseph has just finished saying out at the headquarters.
Yeah, we called it last night on Xfinity Sports Extra. Woody and Troy said Mike McCoy was probably going to be out. He's out. Bill Musgrave is in, and it looks like hopefully Paxton Lynch is in, although that's not official. Troy Rink, live at Dove Valley, who just was there for Vance Joseph's press conference. Troy, as we heard, McCoy's out. We know that, but Vance was not going to give up Paxton Lynch at this point.
Yeah, he wants to talk to Bill Musgrave and the new offensive staff to see what they think, if Paxton is ready. But I will say this, it now comes down to whether they believe Paxton can digest the game plan and execute it against the Raiders, because Vance deemed him healthy. I asked, what would keep him from playing? In other words, why not play him? And he said, nothing would keep us from playing him. He's healthy. So what would stop it is if Musgrave says, you know what, he's just not getting it. He's not getting it quickly enough, which then would be a stinging indictment of Lynch if he can't get on the field now. For what would be a simplified game plan. But this really came down to, as Woody mentioned, McCoy is a scapegoat in this, but where I thought Vance failed was not going to McCoy, 3 weeks ago and saying, run the ball more, get out of 3 wide. It's not working. I was reporting this for weeks, that he was deferring and showing too much respect to some of these veteran coaches. There was a reason McCoy got fired in San Diego, and you let him act like the head coach here and run his offense. That's fine. I like that scheme. It doesn't fit their personnel. They don't have 3 receivers. They don't have a consistent tight end. I like the kid, Austin Traylor, I saw yesterday, but they don't have Phillip Rivers or Peyton Manning. And they were running an attack that suited a quarterback of that ilk. And also, I did think it was interesting that Vance Joseph acknowledged that the quarterbacks haven't been very good. And that is part of this. I think in Simeon's case, he was capable mentally of digesting the McCoy game plans, but not executing it with his skill set. In Brock's case, I don't know that he digested as well, and it doesn't suit his skill set. So, again, as Lionel said, at 3-7, no team since 1990 has qualified for the playoffs at reaching 3-7. It would be foolhardy not to play Lynch at this point, unless, again, he's just showing he cannot digest the game plan, and go out there on Sunday, then that's on him. That's on him if he can't get ready.
Guys, this morning I went back and looked at Paxton Lynch at University of Memphis, and I'd like to ask the two of you about this. The issues, Troy, coming out of college were lousy footwork, grasp of a game that was not simplified, right. And that means we've kidded about it over the past couple of years. The posters on the sideline of squirrels and cheerleaders.
Run
and
the squirrel play.
All that. Yeah. And the third thing, that he was good in a spread offense, but was not great in a passing game that went down the field. So do you think, Troy and Lionel, that we've seen enough out of him, or can see enough out of him, that he's corrected those three flaws?
Well, I got to see 6 games of Paxton Lynch to make that decision. We've seen him in spot work a couple of games last year. We saw him in preseason, no regular season games this year. I haven't had the chance to make it. We see him in training camp, too, and he obviously didn't win the job in training camp. Throw him in for 6 games. We've all said it. The season's lost. There's nothing really to play for here except you need to find your quarterback. And you guys talked about it last night, Troy. You don't believe the quarterback is on the roster at this point. Chad Kelly, we haven't seen him. Paxton, we haven't seen him either. But you don't believe Paxton Lynch, Troy, is going to be the guy moving forward.
I just haven't seen that. What bothers me
we
about
need
Lynch,
to see it, though.
Yeah, what bothers me about Lynch is he's not a type A personality. He got beat out by a 7th rounder twice, and it didn't seem to bother him. I've never covered a quarterback who wasn't competitive. And Lynch, at times, he just feels like his goal was to reach the NFL, not be successful in the league. And this is another prime opportunity, just as Camp was, to take the job. So we'll see. But if he does play, I want to see him in a run pass option offense where he gets out and runs a little bit. I know he's 6'7", but do everything he does well and just see where that takes you. And is there enough there you can build an offense around? Or is it, you know what, he can only do 5-6 plays and they'll scheme that up in 2 weeks and we have no chance and we need a more well-rounded quarterback. But I agree with you, Lionel, on that you can't leave this season without knowing what you have in him. And if you don't, shame on him and maybe shame on them.
Yeah, you got to pick a quarterback. If he's not the guy, you got to pick another quarterback, maybe in the first round, and sign a veteran if Trevor or Brock's not going to be the guy. This has to be cleared up. We can't have any more quarterback confusion here.
But, guys, the timing of this is so misunderstood by me because Mike McCoy here once before took a young quarterback and totally changed the system to fit that quarterback. You would think that he would be qualified to develop a system for Paxton Lynch that would fit his abilities out of a spread offense.
But he showed none of that, Woody. He showed none of that flexibility this time around with the Broncos. He was complete stubbornness, bordering on arrogance, staying with that 3-wide set. They've thrown 10 interceptions during their last 10 interceptions. 9 have come out of 3-wide. The play that changed the game yesterday, 4-yard line, 3-wide set. It's insanity when you're running the football. I mean, the McCoy that I wrote about and talked about in the offseason, I didn't see any elasticity in his game plans. Woody, I saw a guy stubbornly believing he had Phillip Rivers
Troy,
under center.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about with Paxton Lynch coming in, that you think he'd be the guy, because let's talk about it. Musgrave really is a West Coast offense kind of guy. Is that an offense that suits Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know what suits Lynch at this point. I really don't. I'm not being sarcastic. I don't know what would suit him.
Right.
I really don't. I know that if you try to run the playbook that they were running out there the last 10 weeks, Lynch has no chance. 0. But if you simplify it, throw in some runs, make it use his athleticism, get him outside, out of the pocket, I mean, maybe. Again, I'm not saying that with confidence. If you run the offense they've been running, he has 0 chance of being successful.
All right, let me bring this up, guys. John Elway is kind of at the center of this firestorm between calling the players soft on Friday, having the players kind of respond and basically say, if we're soft, you're the guy that brought us all in here. You're responsible for this team. Your fingerprints are all over the whole thing. And now the quarterback situation. He drafted all of these quarterbacks. And a lot of the blame has to go on him, as you pointed out last night on Xfinity Sports Extra. Look in the mirror, Woody, for John Elway. Now, moving forward, how much is Elway going to have his fingerprints on this decision, guys? Woody, I'll start with you. How much of this? I know Vance Joseph said I fired McCoy. Then I talked to Elway after that. But how much did Elway say McCoy's got to go put Musgrave in, and you better play Paxton Lynch? Is that what's being said?
I think he did the same thing he did a couple of years ago. That even though Vance Joseph is saying, I'm making all the decisions, we meet every day and talk about it, I think John Elway's told him, let's get back to running the football. That's what he told him after the Rams game 2 years ago, run the football. And he talks in simple declarative sentences. Not saying he's not a very intelligent guy. Went to Stanford and graduated with a degree in economics. I'm just saying that when he talks, he'll say, we're a little bit soft, or pull the trigger, or run the damn ball. I mean, he talks in those terms in regard to football. So I think his fingerprints and footprints are all over what's going to happen going forward, particularly in the offseason. And Troy, I think you would agree with me that it's got to go way beyond just the players. More assistant coaches are going to bite the dust. People in the personnel department. I could see the scouting department being overhauled, because John Elway at some point is going to have to take the blame, because he is the guy that's making all the decisions. It is his draft. Well, look at his draft. It's his choice on free agents. Well, the Matt Russells of the world can't just sit back in the background and accept none of the blame for this. So those are the guys that are also going to have to look in the mirror.
Well, in the case of the Broncos, part of the issue here, Woody, is since 2012, only 3 teams have not drafted a Pro Bowler. Broncos are one of those teams. Browns are obviously on that list as well. There's no infusion of young players coming through. So Elway, no one is blameless when you're this bad. I mean, it's not on one guy. It's not just Mike McCoy. It's not just the quarterbacks. It's erosion of talent across the roster. Offensively, they're not very good. And you wrote about it, Woody. I mean, it's not just a scheme, one player. Now, again, if you had Peyton Manning, could you put Revlon Blush over a lot of this? Yes, but they don't. He's not walking through that door. But they have a lack of talent offensively. That has been proven unequivocally for basically 2.5 seasons. And there's no young guys coming to the rescue. And so this year they have one guy contributing in the draft, Bowles, who hasn't been very good for the last month. One guy contributing out of the draft class. You look to previous draft classes. The reason they had to re-sign Emmanuel Sanders and pay more money to him when he probably should have gone for a tackle is Cody Latimer never developed. They need Jake Butt, but he's not playing this year. I mean, they haven't had to see in for 3.5 years. So no one can be blameless in this. And the mea culpas have been coming for the last 2 weeks from Vance, from Brock Olivo, and Mike McCoy. McCoy wasn't bitter as much as, he understands it's a performance-based business. But to sit here and say he's the cause of their problems, the root cause of their offensive problems is they don't have much talent, and they need to figure out what few things can they do and do that well. Stop pretending you have a bunch of weapons and all this diversity when you don't. Do a few things well. Keep yourself in a game.
Lionel, I would just add, and nobody's really talked about it, this was a bite for John Elway of close to $3 million. That's what they were paying the offensive coordinator. They're having to eat that money. So, I mean, in this day and time, I mean, they've got another guy out there that's getting $90,000 every time he suits up. Are you going to continue to pay a running back that you're using Charles 3 times a game?
Jamal Charles, right.
$78,000 a game. I can't see his future being much longer here either.
I
mean, it just doesn't make sense to not play D'Angelo Henderson.
Yes. I was going to say, D'Angelo Henderson needs to see some action in it.
Can I mention Connor McGovern, who was supposedly a great replacement at center? I mean, can we not see him at guard or even tackle? I mean, Jordan Taylor made one good catch yesterday, did a good job. He didn't return any punts for 20 yards. He mostly fair call, but he did catch them. I mean, I think it's time, even if you put Paxton Lynch in there, to see some of these guys, because they're going to need, and I wrote it last night, they're going to need more than 24 new players next year. The free agents.
Well, here's the issue.
Go ahead,
Woody,
Troy.
though, and I agree with you. And they should go younger. But to do that, I would think Vance Joseph's going to have to get assurances from Elway that he's coming back. Because if they lose out, I don't think Vance survives that. And I think that's going to be the interesting dynamic. Like, if Lynch doesn't play, maybe Joseph's like, hey, because when you fire a coordinator, you've moved yourself one step closer to the plank as the head coach. And if they lose out or go win one of the next 6, is Vance Joseph gone? That would be the argument they wouldn't make public. That's going to be the argument they won't make public is, I'm going to play Osweiler or even Simeon could save my own job, but that would hurt the franchise. That would be counterproductive for the future.
Well, yeah, because when you say, well, we're going to play the guy who gives us the best chance to win. Best chance to win, you're on a 6-game losing streak. There's nobody giving you the best chance to win right now. Make a change. Other guys might give you a chance to win. All right, let's wrap this
try
up.
to be first. They're going to Oakland. Thanksgiving weekend. They're going to lose this game. So it's not like it's suddenly going to be, the spurt that changes the direction of this team. They should be able to beat the Jets here. But I hear people talking about, well, look at the teams they have on their schedule. They're not as good as Indianapolis.
No, the teams are looking at the Broncos saying, well, look, we can beat them. Right?
They could beat Miami, and they could beat the Jets at home. I don't know about Colts anymore, but they haven't won a road game this year. That's why it's hard to project them winning anything on the road. But, I mean, you look at their schedule, and I think 5-11 is realistic at this point. It might be 4-12.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up, guys. We kind of touched on it already, pretty much last night and today. But moving forward, and it may be a simplistic view, I just want to see the guys who haven't played, like a D'Angelo Henderson, like a Jordan Taylor, a Paxton Lynch, because the guys who have played are on a 6-game losing streak. To me, it's that simple. Get guys in and see what you have for 2018. Troy, you brought up the point that may cost Vance Joseph his job. He may be worried about that. But from my standpoint, the last 6 games, simply change it and see what's happening. Doing the same thing is insanity and will lead to more losses, in my opinion.
Final point out for me is Joe Ellis says all the time, we're trying to carry on the tradition of Pat Bowlen. What would Pat do? Pat would have cleaned house right today. He wouldn't have put up with this. So if they are actually leading this team and guiding this team as Pat Bowlen would do if he weren't suffering from Alzheimer's, guys, this is the depths. This is Josh McDaniels' depths all over again, 6 years later.
All right, Troy, what do you think? Last 6 games, as again, we touched on it already, but what do you think?
Yeah, there's not much to salvage yet. I see this last 6 weeks as a game as who wants to be a Bronco. Which players want to be here through effort and performance, which coaches are going to survive. I mean, Joe Woods is clearly his security's in question. Again, Vance Joseph hasn't been questioned. Elway gave him a vote of confidence on Friday, but again, if they lose out, I can't see him surviving that. And Olivo, yes, I mean, although they were slightly improved yesterday. But for me, Lionel, the next 6 weeks, they're the American Idol auditions of who wants to be a Bronco. But they need, as Woody said, this is not a quick fix. It's going to require this year's draft rebounding next year, a great draft, and a move up for some certainty at quarterback, either through free agency or the draft.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say to you, Troy, though, the 2 things I don't want in life are poison ivy and a vote of confidence, because each one of them followed by a lot of itching and probably a bad time in your life.
Well, the old saying is, I stand 100% behind you. And you have to be 100% behind somebody to stab them in the back. So there you go.
Push them off the list.
Yes, there you go, Troy.
All right, guys.
All right, Troy Rink, live at Dove Valley. Thanks, Troy. We'll look for you later today on Sports Extra on Denver Channel. Also online, tweeting all day from Broncos and giving us the latest reports. And Woody?
Look for me later today. I'll be at the barbershop.
And you're on ESPN, this network I've heard about. What is this thing, this ESPN thing?
Yeah, around the horn.
I know, it's great. And also check online for Woody's column and Troy's articles on the Denver Channel. We'll see what happens, man. It's got to be Paxton Lynch time, in my opinion. And again, it's Orange Monday, Victory Monday. Furniture Row, congratulations for winning the championship. This has been Orange First, brought to you by OtterBox. We'll see you again next week.
Go buy a lamp at Furniture Row.
Get a sofa.